up, everybody? This is Trent with SoundLink Magazine. This time with Nick from Make Them Suffer. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good, man.
Awesome. All right, so you guys are on this run with your headlining run and stuff with Enterprise Earth and Spite, who unfortunately had to drop off the tour and everything. So how have the shows been, and is this your first headlining tour here?
Yeah, so this is our first real headliner in the US. Third time in the USA in the past 12 months. So our first tour here would have been last September with August Burns Red. Second one being with Architects just a couple of months ago in March 2017. And so this is our first proper shot at our headliner. We've just released an album, Worlds Apart, and this is our album tour.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we were just talking beforehand how we interviewed you guys, on our podcast, like in Charlotte on that August Burns Red tour, and then here, then we caught you guys with Architects and stuff. So how have you adapted to the States with the cultural shock and all that stuff being here for the third time? You guys kind of like found the groove of how things flow here and everything?
Yeah, well, this is actually, my culture shock's kind of worn off. I definitely experienced the culture shock the first time around. A couple of us are new to America. Like, this is Booker's first time and Jordan's first time to the US. And they're sort of finding their way around Americans and American culture still. Not necessarily in bad ways. It's just different. Yeah. Being our first headliner as well. I honestly can't remember the last time we did a real headliner tour. So this is a step up for us in lots of different levels. It's a completely different ball game for us. It's not a matter of you jump on. Put your stuff on stage, play for 30 minutes and jump off. You kind of gotta, you gotta rock up early. You gotta basically be the first to arrive and the last to leave every night and play a 1 hour set in between. And it's taken its toll on us. Like sickness, being in a van for a month playing 1 hour shows every day. You're due to get sick at some point, and at least. Yeah, I think everybody on this tour party's been sick at least once this tour. So yeah, it's been pretty tough.
Yeah, so I can take it, I guess, from here on out for a little bit. You're going to stick to the support stuff. Are you guys looking to headline more often?
Look, it really depends. I mean, we're going to be looking to play headliners as much as we can, but it's whatever benefits the greater cause of the band, I suppose. Okay. We'd like to. Ideally, we'd like to be jumping on those festival runs in the US and in Europe. But look, hey, if we can get away with doing headliners, that's cool too.
Okay, awesome. So you mentioned your album Worlds Apart and everything, and listening to it today again, going back on it and stuff and comparing it to like what you did on the older stuff. There is sort of a stylistic change. Just going back, I didn't realize the first time I listened to it like how I guess more melodic it is than your previous stuff. And so what was the creative process behind that? What went into like, let's be more melodic, let's add these more ambience to it versus the whole let's just be punishing and heavy and all that?
There wasn't a real goal as to what the album should sound like when we first started writing it. We knew that it was going to be like some sort of landscapey thing. Like, that's basically what MTS has always been about. Neverbloom and Old Souls had that in their own way, and Worlds Apart has it in its own way as well. And we didn't really have when we wrote Ether, we weren't like, all right, we're going to make something that sounds like this. We just Ether was the first song for us where we could go, all right, let's just write something that we like and not actually go for anything, and out came Ether. So Ether was kind of like a primer to what Worlds Apart was going to be.
Okay. And have you taken in there, because it's still a fairly new record and stuff, so how have you taken in the reaction from fans? What's the consensus with it? You guys pleased with how it turned out and stuff and how it did?
Yeah, the general consensus has actually been, like, for us, surprisingly good. Like, we were ready to be like another, I guess, Suicide Silence band where we just like cop it from every. We were ready, honestly. We were ready to I don't know, I guess, face the music quite literally. But look, the general consensus seems to be like, I'm seeing a lot of people on the internet, and I spend a lot of time on the internet. We all spend a lot of time on the internet, trust me. Everybody's really stoked on it. It's a piece of art. It's a work of art, and that's all we ever wanted it to be. Record sales and everything else aside, like it's lived up to its creative potential as far as we can tell.
Okay. Now, not necessarily going what the name means, but just sort of playing on the name Worlds Apart. Obviously everybody knows Australia and United States is literally like this, but whereas maybe 10 years ago or so, it was mainly like the UK bands coming over having success, but like just the past 5 or so, it's been like the Australians, like Parkway Drive, obviously is the big one and stuff, but like Dial is Murder, you guys, In Heart's Wake, bands are just coming over here and blowing up. So what is it about, I guess, Australia finally, finding its groove with the American music scene and all that?
I've thought about that a lot, and there's a couple of ways you can look at it. There's the effect that the internet has over, the mass of people. I do agree with you. In the past 5 years, Australian bands have really started to flourish. Australian bands are really beginning to flourish. I believe that, I would say Parkway Drive for, every Australian band in our network would agree with me in saying that Parkway Drive actually paved the way for Australian bands. Basically, sent us all a message saying like, "Hey, you guys can do it too," And look, the formula is simple. You get a bunch of good musicians. You write good music. You get it produced well. Do everything else right, and just try get yourself signed to an American label. The difficult thing for any band coming from outside the USA is actually attaining a visa to perform here. So you can't actually, unlike Americans can come into Australia and perform under like a tourist visa almost, which barely costs money for us. A working visa for an individual can cost up to $3,000. So you times that by five members. You do the math. It's basic. Yeah, it's very expensive for any band to come over to the US. So look, it's for a lot of Australian bands. They're simply getting smarter. They're picking up on their business skills, and they're finding ways to crack the American market.
Now, one last question before regarding to this. A band like Seeing the Skies is like signed to In Vogue and stuff, but they don't really do a lot of U.S. stuff. House versus Hurricane, I know about them and stuff, but like even bands like Dream on Dreamer who've tried coming over here, they had to stint on Rise, and they sort of like, I guess, I don't know, I guess they went back home. So if a band can't make it to the U.S. or they get to the U.S. and they sort of just don't click, are they seen sort of like, okay, our career's over, have we failed, or is the ultimate goal for an Australian band to get to the United States as being successful, or are there bands there that would say they're successful even though they're staying in Australia?
Well, it depends how you measure success. Most bands would want to do an international tour and come out even. Like, you don't want to go on a tour and come back home with negative $5,000 in your pocket. For bands who have come to the US maybe once or twice before and gone back with in the negatives, probably have less of a reason to come back to the US. Not to say that next time they come to the US they won't make any money, but I'm saying that it will probably discourage them from coming back to the US. So I don't know what the circumstance was for those other Australian bands who have come here once or twice and aren't coming back here again. But the matter of the fact is that it's difficult for any band to do a headliner here the first and second time and come out on top.
Okay, all right. So I'll leave you with a fun question here to close this out. We always ask some stupid crazy ones for you guys here, and if Fearless Records hit you guys up and said, hey, we're going to do a Punk Goes Disney album, which Disney song would make them suffer cover?
What's my favorite Disney song? What's the one? What's the one in Lion King 2? It's like,
Oh, Lion King 2. I haven't had that one yet. I love that. I love Lion King 2 actually.
It's like, he lives in me.
Oh yeah.
He lives in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I actually love Lion King 2. That movie doesn't get a lot of love, but I actually really like it. It's a good. It's a good sequel.
Lion King 2 is underrated. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's the first Lion King 2 answer we've had. So, all right, Nick, well, thanks for talking to us today. And I'm Trent with SoundLink Magazine. Thanks for watching, everybody.